Pushpa is already 12.
Yes, sir.
It's already 12:30.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it is 12:31.
Yeah.
We'll be starting in 1 minute, sir. Many of the students are joining now, so we will just start in 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Many of our teachers, they are now attending the training program for Panchayat election, sir.
I know.
Yeah, more than a dozen.
Okay.
Yeah.
संजय जी स्टार्ट करवाइए.
हाँ ठीक है सर. पुष्पा start. Let us start, Pushpa.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. And stop the background music.
Yes, sir. I'll just stop it.
Yeah.
दिखाए ये कैमरा.
That was 2 days ago. I'm First of all, that was okay, am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you are audible. You are audible. Start, Pushpa.
Okay, sir. A very good afternoon to everyone present here. I am Pushpa Tiwari, co-coordinator from Department of Computer Application, Guru Nanak College, Dhanbad, and we are here to celebrate and observe the International Day on Biodiversity and its Management. And it is my privilege to have been asked to come here this occasion. So I welcome you all for this wonderful talk, which will be held just now. The topic itself is very diversified, that the word biodiversity. It is actually a combination of two words, biological and diversity. And it refers to the variety of life on Earth and encompasses all the living things that exist in a certain area, in the air or in the land or in waters, plants, animals, microorganisms, fungi, everywhere. The area considered may be very small as your backyard compost heap, or as big as your animals and plants don't exist in isolation. All living things are connected to other living things, and their non-living environment, that is earth, forms, rocks, and rivers. If one tiny species in an ecosystem becomes extinct, we may not notice, but think it's important. The biodiversity of the ecosystem will be altered, and all belong to will be affected. Biodiversity refers to the variety among organisms and the ecological complexes in which they occur. Diversity can be defined as the number of different items and their related frequency. Thus, the term encompasses different ecosystems species, genes, and their relative abundance. This is a huge topic, and to have a wonderful discussion and talk, we have our keynote speaker for this talk today, Mr. Kashmir Singh, Dr. Kashmir Singh from Punjabi University. May I now call Dr. Sanjay Prasad, Principal, Guru Nanak College, to proffer his welcome address, and also Sir will be introducing our keynote speaker of today's talk. So over to you, Sanjay sir.
Thank you, Puspa. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Puspa. Very good afternoon to everyone present in this online webinar, online talk. And Guru Nanak College and its Nature Club is celebrating International Day for Biological Diversity. As Puspa has rightly said, biodiversity refers to the variety of plants and animals found on the earth. It measures the variations at ecosystem, species, and genetic levels. This day raises awareness about this issue and calls for action to protect our planet's biodiversity. The International Day for Biological Diversity is a United Nations sanctioned international day for the promotion of biodiversity issues. It is currently held every year on this very day, that is 22nd May. And you see, the theme in 2022 is building a shared future for all. This is very important. This is really very important. I take 1 or 2 minutes more time and I read it aloud, a message from Convention on Biological Diversity. From ecosystem-based approaches to climate and nature-based solutions to climate, health issues, food and water security, and sustainable livelihoods, biodiversity is the foundation upon which we can build back. This is main message from CBD. I also share a very small statistics which explains volume about the importance of this day. Biological diversity resources are the pillars upon which we build the civilization. A very small statistics, fish provides 20% of animal protein to about 3 billion people. Over 80% of human diet is provided by plants. Nearly 80% of countries or 80% of people living in the developing and underdeveloped countries rely on traditional plant-based medicine for basic health care. So this is a very important day and the topic is equally important. Biodiversity conservation, which refers to the protection, upliftment, and management of biodiversity in order to derive sustainable benefits for present and future generation. Dear audience, listener, we have with us Professor Dr. Kashmir Singh, Professor and Chairperson, Department of Biotechnology and Coordinator DST for Policy Research, as key speaker for today's program. He has been the author of more than a dozen books on his subject. A long list of publications are there, around 100 in numbers. Many research projects have been successfully carried out by him. He has successfully guided more than 17 research work leading to the award of PhD degree. He is chairman and member of various board of studies. He is visiting scientist, McGill University, Canada. Awarded Marie Curie postdoctoral fellowship, Institute of Molecular Biology, Poland. He is an outstanding and world-class scientist. Sir, I welcome you. I welcome you as key speaker on this occasion to celebrate Biological International Day for Biological Diversity. I also welcome President of Governing Council of our college, Sardar R.S. Chahal sir. In fact, it was he who suggested that why don't you celebrate International Day for Biodiversity. Thank you, sir, for giving us this novel suggestion. Also, we have with us Secretary of Governing Council of our college, Sardar Diljot Singh Garewal sir. I welcome sir. We have with us President of IBPS, International Bird Photography Society, Mr. A.K. Sahai sir. He has been instrumental in the formation of Nature Club in our college. I welcome you, sir. I also welcome former principal of our college, P. Shekhar sir, professor in charge of our college, Dr. Ranjana, HODs of the various departments, faculty members, our anchor, Pushpa Tiwari, and the technical expert and the technical man who is behind the curtain, Sadhan Misra, and above all, students of our college. So I welcome you all to hear a very wonderful talk on a very important topic, celebrating International Day for Biological Diversity. Thank you. Over to Pushpa.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, without wasting any time, may I request our key speaker for today, Dr. Kashmir Singh, to deliver his talk and enlighten our students. Over to you, Kashmir sir.
Pushpa, I'm sorry to mention one special name, Daljit Kaur
Yes.
madam. She has also joined the program.
Yes, we
So I
welcome
welcome you, madam.
very much. Welcome, Daljit Kaur madam.
Yeah. I welcome
She
you,
has
madam.
been she has always been the family member of our college fraternity.
Exactly. So I missed her name. Sorry. So I welcome you especially. Yeah, we have with us now our key speaker, Dr. Professor Kashmir Singh, sir.
Uh, Thank you, sir. Thank you for such a nice introduction. Are you able to see my slides and able to hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. You are audible. Your voice is
Yeah, slightly feeble. The voice is slightly feeble. Otherwise, you are audible, sir.
If you can increase the volume a little, sir.
Okay, now it's fine.
Now it's
Yes,
fine,
sir.
sir.
It's fine, sir.
Yeah, fine, sir.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank the college authorities, especially R.S. Charles, sir, President of the College Management Committee, Dr. Sanjay Prasad, Principal of the college. I thank you, sirs, for inviting me for this today's special occasion on International Day for Biological Diversity. Yesterday, I had a brief talk with Charles, sir, and he mentioned that the college is very active and celebrate almost all the important events, days that are celebrated nationally or internationally. So here I would like to say special thanks to Colonel Sandhu sir, who is very elder senior member of our Punjab University community. So he introduced me with Charles sir and with Dr. Sanjay Prasad. So I would like to mention his name here. So thanks for inviting me. And as per the International Day on Biological Diversity, I have selected the topic biodiversity and its management. So why we should care about biodiversity and what is the need of its management? We all know that India is one of the mega diverse area of the world, and we have almost all kind of zones here, starting from Himalayas, deserts, Western Ghats, then we have Sundarbans, and we have a lot of variety of species in terms of flora and fauna. So we will discuss how our flora and fauna is being degraded and what we can do to preserve our mother. So like Principal Sir has already introduced that we are celebrating International Day for Biological Diversity to commemorate the adoption of Convention on Biological Diversity on May 22nd, 1992 at Nairobi. So this is one of the largest convention, and almost all the countries except 4 countries, they are following the rules and principles of CBD now. So its role is to raise the awareness about the importance of preserving the biodiversity. And this year's theme is building a shared future for all life. So what biodiversity means? Bio means life. And what is biodiversity? Diversity is the variety. Existence of more than one form is increasing the variety. We call it in scientific terms polymorphism. So if we increase the variety, we have more polymorphism and we look better. For example, you can see here, in picture A, we have black colored dogs and they are monotonous in nature, and in the B picture, we have colored ones. So college students, they come from school background where they have to wear uniform every day, same uniform, and we feel bored. And when we come to college, we have a lot of choice to wear the clothes of your own color and according to your personality. So this looks soothing to eyes. Similarly here in the human population, we see a lot of diversity, especially in India. We have diversity in living and non-living things. We have diversity in the languages. We have diversity in the dress. We have diversity in the appearance of everything. Means India itself is a complete country, we say that, and we are proudly being a part of that. And when you come about biodiversity, it is about the number of species living in an area or in an ecosystem. So on the side, you can see the monotonous culture again, like we are cutting the forest and filling the ponds to make it more suitable for our agricultural needs. Now, how this will affect us? Now, you talk about biodiversity, it is a variety of life on the earth and the essential interdependence of all living things. So up till now, scientists have identified more than 2 million species, and tens of millions they remain unknown. That deepest of oceans, thick jungles, they need to be explored. Uh, so this tremendous variety of life on Earth is made possible by complex interactions. So now we are living with each other in terms of interactions. We are interacting with each other, and interactions is from higher organisms to even the microscopic species like algae and mites. So this is the total number of species that has been explored till now. So we have roughly 13,80,902 species. This is rough estimate, not accurate, but we have this much number of species of insects, plants, and all other living organisms that live on this earth. Now, when you talk about diversity, diversity has 3 components. First is the diversity within the species. Second is diversity between the species. And third is the diversity between the ecosystem. So I will explain them one by one. So when we talk about diversity within the species, it it is called genetic diversity. For example, you can see the pictures of dogs here, Chihuahua, Beagle, and Rottweilers. We know that all these, they are dogs, but they don't look like same because they have different genes present in there. So their genetic architecture DNA is different. Okay. So genetic diversity is the term used to describe the number of genes present in the population. Means the number of genes that are controlling the traits. For example, you have color of eyes. We have black, brown, blue color of eyes, and this is all controlled by genes. So when you have diversity, then the chances are there that the population will survive more. So high genetic diversity indicates many different kind of genes present in individuals of a population. For example, eyes tell about dogs, and low genetic diversity indicates nearly all individuals share the same genes. For example, we have population of tigers, and the population which has low genetic diversity uh, may lead to extinction. Now, how to increase this diversity? The genetic diversity can be increased by mutations, by introducing new genetic information into a population, by modifying current genes. Then migration allows movement of genes from one population to another. Like recently, we have heard a lot about mutations. Even now, the common man knows because we have heard that corona is mutating. We have uh, first corona strain, then we have delta strain, then we
Sir,
have omicron strain, and
sorry for obstructing, sir.
there are,
Just a minute. Sir, I just
yeah,
wanted to ask, do you have some presentation, sir? Are you presenting something? Because it is not visible to us.
yes, I am presenting.
But your
That's why
presentation
I
is
asked
not
you.
it is not being shared, sir.
I have shared it. Are you able to see this now?
No, sir. Earlier, when you started, sir, it was showing that you are presenting something, but your PPT is it PPT, sir?
Yes.
सर वो लेकिन शेयर नहीं हो पाया है हाँ
But here
अभी
it is
हो रहा है
showing
सर
it is shared. अभी हो रहा है? Now you can see the slides.
no it's not visible I'm sorry sir maybe due to very slow network it is not enabled to share
Yeah, it is exactly.
Now it is visible.
In fact,
it
the
is
whole
not sir
screen is blank otherwise. Whatever is shared is in fact blank.
I can see you but I cannot see your presentation
Mm. But here,
if you can check sir please check your network once sir because that might be one reason because of which it is not being shared
you can see now. You can see on
I'm sorry sir not
my screen. It is saying I have shared it. Uh, say you are visiting here. Mm, Let me check my connection. Now it is visible. You can see the slides now.
No, sir. It is not visible in my screen. Can anyone confirm if they can see it?
No. No, it's not visible. It's not visible, Pushpa.
Yes, sir. It's not visible even in my screen.
Yeah. Only his still picture is visible.
Yeah, only the still picture is visible.
I think it is better to allow him to continue.
You can continue otherwise with your lecture, sir. Presentation is not up.
Pretty sure. Singh sir, please continue.
Sir, you hear me? Dr. Kashmir Singh, sir, you hear me?
Singh sir may be asked to continue. Are you able to see now?
No, sir. No, sir. No, it's not visible, sir. Sir, you can continue even without presenting, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes. Are you able to see the slides now?
No, sir, it is not. Again, not visible.
It's not again. It is not visible, sir.
Pushpaji, please ask him to continue. You are speaking very well.
Sir, maybe due to slow network, it is not being shared.
Let me join again. सिंह साहब आपको हम लोग की आवाज सुनाई पड़ रही है?
Perhaps he has left.
Sir has joined us again.
Yeah, joined. He has joined us again. Yeah.
Yeah, this time it is. You have shared your whole screen, na, sir? Yes, sir.
Now it is visible. Now it is visible. Biodiversity and its management. Who cares? Now it is visible, sir.
Okay. So now it's okay?
Yeah. Now it's okay, sir. Yeah.
Very okay.
Very nice, sir. Very okay. It's okay, sir.
I am sorry I didn't recognize that you didn't see my slides.
It's okay, sir. It's okay.
So, like, I have introduced already that we have in India we have very mega diverse regions, and we are celebrating this day. And we have diversity in terms of population, in terms of flora, and this I already explained. So this is the number of species that has been already identified. So this is rough estimate because species counting, it's not an easy task, and cataloging them, maintaining the specimens, and because of this ecological damage, many species they are extincting on daily basis. So I was talking about diversity between the species. So I think we can start again from here. So if something happens, you can tell me if you are not able to see my slides, or if I get offline, I request principal sir to please give me a call. He has my number, so that you people don't wait for a long time. Okay. So we have diversity within the species, between the species, and between the ecosystem. So, like I was explaining, we have in these pictures, you can see different varieties of dogs, Chihuahua, Beagle, and Rottweilers. They are all dogs, but they don't look similar because their genes are different. So this is called genetic diversity. The genetic diversity describes the number of genes present in the population. And for example, in dogs, you can see a very large diversity. We have different kind of species. If you have more number of genes present, then the chances of survival of the population is very high. So if you have low genetic diversity, that means individuals share the same genes, and the chances of their survival is very low. For example, if disease factor comes in, they will affect all the individuals similarly. So to increase the genetic diversity, we have mutations in our genome, like DNA sequences changing rapidly. Like we have seen recently that we have many strains of coronavirus. After every 6 months, we have new strain coming out, and that is due to mutations in their current genes. So these mutations, they happen randomly to all the species, but their effect is seen over that period of time. But in microbes and viruses, the effect can be seen very quickly. Then migration is allow movement of genes from one population to another. For example, in humans, we have different populations like white, we are brown, then we have Chinese. Okay, so when we marry between each other, there is movement of gene from one population to another, and these things, they happen with all organisms. Like we have differences in migration. For example, we have barriers of migration like Himalayas, and sexual reproduction is most common way of reproduction. And in sexual reproduction also, we have the natural variations occurs because we have crossing over recombination events when the new gametes, they are formed during meiosis and mitosis. Now, what is the influence of population genetic diversity? The smaller the population, the less genetic diversity it can contain. Like I told you, example of tigers, example of Indian Asian elephants, they have small population and their diversity is very low. Then also we are domesticating the plants and animals, and we are eliminating the diversity of these species by crossing with the favorable genes and removing the undesired features. That's why it is important to preserve the wild relatives of the plants. Next is the diversity between the species. So here you can see monkey, dragonfly, a flower. So these all show diversity between the species. So we have more number of species, we are more diverse. Okay, so this is the measure of the number of different species present in an area. So species richness is number of different kind of species, and taxonomic richness is one particular population is overrepresented in an area. So when the population is overrepresented in an area, it try to take over the other populations. For example, in case of human beings, we are overpowering all other species living in the vicinity. Now, species diversity, when the humans exploit an area, they influence species diversity because humans try to mold these areas according to their need. And they try to convert the natural ecosystem to the human managed ecosystems. Okay, and they eliminate species that compete with their desirable species. So they try to kill, for example, snakes. We are killing snakes because we are fearing of them. We are killing tigers and other species either due to our habit, okay, or again due to fear. Okay. So we have approximately 1.4 million species that have been described, and they live in natural areas where they are rare, and there we can read don't read very easily. And then there is diversity between the ecosystems. We have mega diverse countries like Brazil is one of the mega diverse countries. Then we have Central Africa, that is a mega diverse. They have a lot of uh, animal and plant diversity. India is again one of part of that. Okay, so you can see different kind of diversity in the ecosystems. We have rainforest, we have grasslands, we have wetlands, and they contribute to different niches and the different kind of organisms. They prefer to live in different kind of ecosystems. Now, when you talk about resource sharing, resource uptaking, everything has a value. That we go to market, we buy something, and we have to pay price of that. So our biodiversity, it also has very high value because humans rely on organic molecule. Humans, they cannot make anything of their own. They need everything from the environment to fulfill its need for food, clothes, and shelter. Okay, so we take food from plants or animals, clothes from plants, and shelter again from soil and plants. Now, for making our needs or for completing our needs, we exploit the vegetations that hold soil together and protect the water sheds. And also plant remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And it decomposes, recycle organic wastes. So, according to the estimate, our biodiversity value is 33 trillion US dollars. Okay, it may be in the form of soil formation, recreation, nutrient cycling, and wastewater treatment, water services, climate regulation, refugees, disturbances, and others. So it was in 1994, and now the biodiversity value is decreasing because we have overexploited the things. So we have to choose between the ecosystem or our economic values. Okay. Now this is a rough estimate that our biodiversity value is 33 trillion because you cannot put a price tag on wildlife or medicinally important plants. Sometimes a tablet of 2 rupees, for example, uh, aspirin, it saves your life. Sometimes a drug of 1 lakh, it cannot save your life. So you cannot put a price tag on the available resources. Okay. Now it has ethical value also. What ethical value means that every species that is existing on this earth, they have the fundamental right to live on the earth. We cannot just kill them for our requirements or against our fear. So extinction is not necessarily bad because this is happening over the time, and you might have read the Darwin's theory of natural selection that the species who can survive and adapt better, they have better chances of survival as compared to the species who cannot adapt stronger. That human are the one species that have adapted to almost all the conditions. That's why we are overexploiting the nature. Extinction is not necessarily bad, but human initiated extinction is. Okay. And experiencing natural landscapes and processes in an important human right. So we want to go to Manali, okay, Kinnaur, Goa, whenever we find some time. So this is our right. We can go anywhere, but we should not destroy the landscape of that area. Now the values, they are shaped by the experience. Like we have shift from rural to urban continuous. Like I come from a rural background and now I live in Chandigarh. So what my aim is to permanently settle in Chandigarh because Chandigarh is a city where you have every basic commodity available within the radius of 1 kilometer. Okay. I may not get the same kind of privilege in rural areas, but the peace of mind I get when I go to my home. Today also I am at my home in my village. That's why there is some network issues. So I get my mental peace. So we have to find out the mental peace, not on always run towards the monetary values. Now, should be concerned about the biodiversity. Yes, we should, because Earth is losing species at an alarming rate. So some scientists estimate that as many as 3 species they are going to be extinct within an hour, and 20,000 extinctions occur each year. So we have 13 or to 14 lakh species, and if the extinction occurs at 20,000 per year, so it will take hardly 20-30 years when we will be completely extinct. Okay. So when a species of plant and animal go extinct, many other species they are affected. So when you are living in an ecosystem, ecosystem is the interaction between the living and non-living components. So in the living components, everyone is dependent on everyone. Okay. So if you remove one component from the ecosystem, all the things they are disturbed. For example, honeybees are there. Honeybees, uh, the scientists, they are very much concerned now because of decreasing population of honeybees. Earlier we used to see the honeybee छत्ता जो जिसको वेब बोलते हैं everywhere on the trees, but now they are not seen because of use of pesticides. What will be the loss of these? The honeybees, they are the main pollinators of crops like our wheat, rice, and other important species. So majority of them, they are pollinated by honeybees. So if the honeybees will extinct, the pollination will be affected, and ultimately all other species will be affected. Similar thing is with the termites and ants and other things. So the biodiversity loss lead to extinction. Extinction is the elimination of all the individuals of a particular species from an area. Now, extinction is natural and common events. You have heard about the extinction of dinosaurs, extinction of mammoths, and extinction of many other organisms. But what we have done now, we have increased the pace of extinction. Okay, because of our activities. So this is a graph of endangered species that may lead to extinction in the coming year. So the number is very huge, high. This is only for US, but if you combine all other countries, then it is alarming. So wherever this gentleman goes, it leads to extinction of natural habitat, extinction of reservoirs by making the dams. We have destroyed the coral reefs in China, Australia, Middle East countries because of over harvesting of fishes and other things. Now, as for the saying of Havelock Ellis in his book, The Dance of Life, the sun, the moon, and the stars would have disappeared a long time ago if they had happened to have been within the reach of the predatory human hands. So this one sentence tells you all that how the human beings, they are destroying the nature. Now the causes of extinction are local extinctions, although they are relatively common. For example, you have a large pond in the village. Earlier we used to see a large pond in the village where the people go, they wash their clothes, animals come, they drink water, and kids play in the water. But now nothing is there. So the animals or the organisms living in that pond, they are dead now. So those will lead to extinction of an ecosystem in a particular place. So we should not worry much because this is a small pond, but when it happens in a large scale in every area, then this is a matter of grave concern. So species likely to go extinct that are small, dispersed population. For example, that happened to tiger. We have few hundreds of tiger left now. 300-400 बचे थे, but now because of this tiger save tiger plan, we have reached again up to 3,000. When the population size is small and they disappeared, and successful breeding is difficult. Now, why successful breeding is difficult? Because when you have a small population, they will do inbreeding. Inbreeding, when they will do, it will lead to loss of gene pool because there will not be many variations. They will breed between each other, and recessive genes will start appearing. They will be more prone to diseases, and when if some disease comes, and all of them will be wiped out from an area. So population, they are most likely to become extinct who are low in population density, found in small areas, in the specialized niches, and low reproductive rates. For example, this gentleman here, cheetah. Then least likely to become extinct, that has high population diversity, found over large area, generalized niche, and high reproductive rates like raccoons. So the causes of extinction are habitat alteration, commercial hunting, competition within introduced species, pest control. We will explain this one by one. So threat to biodiversity is mainly due to these 5 reasons: HIPCO, habitat loss, invasive species, pollution, climate change, and overharvesting of some species. So all these things, like, they are because of increasing population and consumption, because with the increasing population we have to have more land for agriculture, more plants for logging, fish, industrial and fossil fuel use, urbanization and road construction, and international trade. So these all lead to habitat loss, overexploitation, climate change, and ultimately leads to loss of biodiversity. Now, this is a chart. You can see here that these 5 reasons, they have huge impact. Like mammals population, 80%, they are vulnerable to extinction because of habitat loss and degradation only. Same is the case with birds, amphibians, and gymnosperm trees. Now, we have different listings, like we have red data book, IUCN. I will tell you that in the coming slides. So they are listing of organisms, like they are extinct, when no known species exist today, threatened, species with a high risk of extinction in the future, near threatened, species that are likely to become threatened in the future, and least concern, that species they are widespread and abundant. Now, in the case of habitat loss, 80 to 90% of the threatened species, they are result of habitat loss or fragmentation. Okay, and most of the habitat loss is due to human development. You can see this picture and these pictures where all the vegetation, they have been removed either for cultivation or for building the new colonies. This is burning of trees in like Indonesia, Brazil. More and more people, they are coming up and they are eradicating the area for their commercial use. This is the basin of Amazon. Amazon basin is one of the richest basin in terms of biodiversity of flora and fauna, and lot of things they have been happening here in the recent time. You can see here, this is the Brazilian jungle of Amazon, and the forest fire, they have been increased tremendously just to clear the area and make colonies for humans and land for agriculture. Now, why we should concern about the tropical deforestation? Because Amazon is one of the largest jungle of the earth, and they trap more than 50% of the carbon dioxide produced by the world. So if there is less carbon trapping, there will be increased global warming. Along with that, we have significant reduces species diversity. Then lower transpiration means we will have low rain events in the coming years. Then deforested lands, they are easily eroded, and the soil will lead into the ocean. Then because of this global warming, the uh, ocean level will increase, and there is threat of extinction of many world countries. For example, most famous cities of the world: New York, Bombay, San Francisco, Los Angeles, uh, they are near, or they are on the banks of oceans. So if the water level will increase, these species will submerge in them. Okay, and the human population pressure is greatest in tropics and still increasing. Uh, we have converted the 40% of land into agriculture. Originally, half of the US and three-fourths of Canada was forested, but now we have reduced that. The Canada is the largest supplier of wood to the world. So they cut their jungles at very fast rate. Okay. Although they do deforestation also, but deforestation takes a lot of time instead of naturally occurring forest. So you can see in the red color the area that has been decreased. So it is highest in the Amazon basin, and this is a reason of great concern. And similarly, this is the mega diverse area. They are being threatened, and this is Cambodia, Laos, Thailand. They are burning their jungle. Then comparing to the terrestrial ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem is also under fire, because we are harvesting the oceans for seafoods, fish, and other edible products. So mostly the fishing is done near the shallow parts of ocean, and trawls and nets dragged along the bottom. They do habitat damage, and about 20% of the catch is undesirable, and thus it is discarded. So you are unwillingly destroying the non-wanted species. Then in the freshwater system also, we have made irrigation canals, flood control gates, or dams for power production, and it may alter natural ecosystem. In Punjab, very famous example is uh, dolphins river in the living in the Beas river. Okay, now on the Beas, various dams have been constructed, and these dolphins, they are not freely moving in the river, and they are doing inbreeding, and there is chances of extinction of these from the Beas in the coming time. Similar thing happens to the Ghadial also in Beas. So Punjab government, they are what they are doing, they are producing offsprings of dolphin and gharials artificially in the lab, and then they are leaving them back into the Beas river. Then invasive species, this is a matter of great concern also. Invasive species or alien species or exotic species that are not the species of that area. For example, in India we have Parthenium grass, जिसको आप Congress grass बोलते हैं, or you have hyacinth, water hyacinth, fish ornament. These two species, they came from, one came from Australia, one came from USA as a weeds, but they take over the ecosystem. जहाँ भी आप जाओ, water hyacinth, it has covered all the water bodies. Parthenium grass, जगह खाली छोड़ो, the Congress grass will start growing there. Okay, so these invasive species, they threat 30% of the birds and 15% of the plant population. And these invasive species, they spread rapidly across large areas. For example, this is kudzu vine. You can see here forest cover is totally taken up by this vine. And within months, it can cover entire forest, and the trees going under that, they will be decomposed. You will see nothing under this vine. Then zebra mussel, this is this one, this picture. So these are the shells that grow at very fast rate, and these can reduce the population of normal shells living in the area. Then silver carp. This silver carp is an Asian fish, but somehow it reaches to United States, and this is in the river of California, where they are reproducing very healthily, and they have totally eradicated the local fish from that. Then pollution is again a big concern, because we are raising toxic contaminants like pesticides, plastics, heavy metals, acids, and oil spills. Okay, pesticides, we know that this is a big problem, especially in Punjab and Haryana. Plastic is the worst thing human have produced ever. Why it is the worst thing the human has produced ever? Because it cannot be decomposed. It takes hundreds of years to decompose a plastic, and it is reached everywhere in the world. इवन वहां पर भी पहुंच गए हैं जहां पर ह्यूमन पॉपुलेशन है ही नहीं. Okay, and it is causing majority of the diseases in human beings, and that's why we are saying no use of plastics. But we don't have any alternative to plastics, but we should stop using it as soon as possible. The heavy metals, lead, mercury, they are reaching in the groundwater and causing cancer like in Punjab. Then oil spills, when we transport the oil, if you can see here, the pelican is totally drenched in crude oil because of spillage. Then these fuels, they produce greenhouse gases that can degrade the ozone layer. So we have fuel from heaven. Everything comes from above the ground. Like we look for heaven, and then we look towards the sky, that it is heaven upstairs. So wind, hydroelectric, tidal, biomass, solar, they are all fuel from the heaven, and fuel from the hell that comes from underground, like coal, oil, gas. So right now we are very much dependent on the fuel from the hell, because we don't have alternative. But in the coming times, we may have some good news in terms of clean fuel. Then along with this, we have methane problem. Methane is dangerous, more dangerous than CO2, because it traps heat 21 times stronger than CO2. Okay, so it is produced from rice farming, petroleum drilling, coal mining, animal defecation. Okay, many animals, for example, cow, it releases methane, but we cannot say it right now. So solid waste, landfill sites, and cattle belching, they also produce methane. So methane traps the sun heat near the Earth's surface, where majority of the population live, grow, and when you have high heat, the plants and animals, they don't survive, especially the plants, because they cannot go to other areas, and the organisms that are living in the rhizosphere of the soil. Then next concern is climate change. Because of excessive pollution, we have increased the speed of climate change. So if you see the history of Earth, there are so many phases of high and low temperature. You might have seen the movies, what you called as ice age. So ice age events, they have there, but what we have done, we have increased the pace of that because of pollution, because of forest fires. We have increased the pace of climate change, and now the Earth's surface is heating at an alarming rate. And for example, you can see here, these are large mammals, for example, polar bears and others who needs ice for their survival, they are losing their habitat because of global warming. Ice is melting at very high, high rate. So we have huge explosion in the population. Right now also we are more than expected, and in the 20 to 50, because population doubling time is 35 years. After every 35 years, uh, population of human it doubles. Okay, so you can expect, so after 50 years we will be 15 billion, and after 35 years we will be 30 billion. So there will be exponential increase if we will not control ourselves. Similarly, with the growth of human population, we have urbanization, industrialization, then we have emission of CO2s because of this urbanization, industrialization, motor vehicles, aeroplanes, everything they are contributing to the climate change, pollution, everything. And because of this, we are facing ozone hole like problems. And now you can see the hot weather, it started very early in the March, and we have low seed filling in the wheat. So Punjab and Haryana, they have not produced the harvest of wheat up to the mark that was estimated because of early uh, summer this time. So climate change will bring great environmental challenges. For example, food insecurity, water shortage, terrorism, refugees, okay, natural, economic, and social disasters, and loss of biodiversity. This is RLC. You can see the area under this has been reduced to 50%. Then overharvesting, when you keep on hunting one species more as compared to another, later extinction. For example, dodo, American bison, and passenger pigeon, they were extinct. They are extinct now. So reduced biodiversity will be enabled to reduce the ecosystem services such as carbon sequestration, nutrient cycling, resistant to drought on which humans rely, reduces disease transmission in important ecosystem provided by high biodiversity. Okay. So when you have more biodiversity, then the disease transmission is low. So when you have low biodiversity, then the ecological communities, they may not provide many fundamental ecosystem services. Okay, for example, you have seen now corona, it is infecting almost all the countries of the world. Okay, because human gene pool is very narrow. Okay, and in this narrow gene pool also, you have heard that some people they fell very sick because of corona, and some they didn't hardly get any symptom. Okay, so because of their gene pool, some were survive and able to survive because of this corona, and some were not able to withstand even the minor infections of corona. This is all because of the gene pool. So when you have high biodiversity, you have a larger gene pool, and then you have low uh, chances of infection to diseases. Now, for example, if you keep on growing the wheat, one particular wheat all across India, so if disease will occur to wheat, it will spread very rapidly to all the Indian population of wheat. But if you have different varieties of wheat, one is susceptible, another is resistant, so it will remain restricted to that resistant. It will not spread to other population. That's why the gene pool is very important. Okay. For example, in human, 90% of the cells are microbial. Now we talk a lot about microbiome, but we have more than 1 kg of bacteria in our gut. When you talk about 1 kg of bacteria, this is very huge number. Okay, it means you have billions, trillions of bacteria in your body. That's why people they are selling Yakult and other things to keep our gut healthy. Okay. So changes in the composition of microbiome, they are frequently associated with infection and diseases. That's why doctors say don't take much of antibiotics because it can change the microbiota of the gut because these antibiotics, they kill microbes. Okay. So the rich microbial community appear to regulate the abundance of endemic microbial species that can become pathogenic when overly abundant. So if you kill your insect microbiota by taking the antibiotics, the invasive microbes will enter into your gut and it may start producing the diseases. Otherwise, the internal bacteria, they will fight against the diseases. So what is being done to preserve the biodiversity? So we need a sustainable development. Develop that means in the terms of social, economic, and environmental values. That it should not harm the social values, it should not harm the economic values, and it should not harm the environment also. So we have to maintain the diversity of the genes, diversity of the species, and diversity of the ecosystem. So if you want to sustain ourselves in this earth, we have to follow certain rules that we are trustees or stewards of the planet, vast resources, and biological diversity. We are the trustees. We are not the users. So we have to protect this diversity. Okay. We must learn to make use of Earth's natural sources, both renewable and non-renewable, in a manner that ensures sustainability and equity in the distance, which is of time. This requires full consideration of potential environmental consequences of all development activities. We must temper our actions with moderation and humility. A true value of nature cannot be expressed in economic terms. We may say that total biodiversity value is 33 trillions, but as I said, that everything cannot be bought by money. Okay. So you need a deep understanding of natural world and its role in development, and we should try sustainable development, and it is a fundamental responsibility that must be shouldered, a prerequisite for spiritual development as well as our physical survival. So there are many steps that has been taken by many government, and many acts have been there. For example, Lacey Act is there made by USA to control the wildlife trade, that prohibit the transport of illegally harvested game animals, primarily birds and mammals, across state lines. Then we have a site, that is Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. It is developed in 1973 and it is still relevant, and 175 countries, they are member of this. Then you have IUCN that keeps the list of threatened species, safe, threatened, vulnerable, all kind of organisms, they are listed in this red data book. Then conservation legislation in the US, where they prohibit the import or export of any marine mammal body parts. Then Endangered Species Act, that trading of endangered species is illegal. Okay, and it should be done only through government intervention. And the most important one nowadays is Convention on Biological Diversity, the day we are celebrating. Okay, this is the common concern of humankind. We should protect the ecosystem, species, and genetic resources. It also covers biotechnology because I am a biotechnologist. So I have to protect the biosafety because there is a lot of concern about genetically modified animals and genetically modified plants. So it directly or indirectly protect all the possible domains of biodiversity, ranging from science, politics, education to agriculture, business, culture, and much more. So the major goals of this CBD is conservation of biodiversity, sustainable use of biodiversity, because we are relying on biodiversity. So, but we should not overexploit it. We should take as much as we need. Okay. Fair and equitable sharing of the benefits arising from the use of genetic resources. So what it means, But when before this CBD, for example, we have many revolts seen in Chhattisgarh, then in Jharkhand and in Odisha, because of excessive mining, excessive use of natural resources, and the local population of these areas, tribes, they were very disturbed. And then they start revolting against that, and they were called Naxalites. Okay, so Naxalite movement started from there. Now it has taken some other shape that we will not discuss. But when you don't share, because they were using the resources of that area, but the local population was not benefiting. This is not happening only in India, it is happening in all the countries. Okay, that's why revolts are there in all the countries. Okay, so we should share fair and equitable sharing for the benefits of the people who are living in these areas, because tribes, they don't know how to work in a factory. They are totally reliable on forest for their needs of food, feed and shelter. Okay, so India ने अपना बायोडाइवर्सिटी एक्ट पास कर दिया, and suddenly they did not allow these tribes to use the forest areas, and they don't know what to do because they were totally dependent on these areas. So that's why the revolt come. So this treaty is signed by 191 countries. Only 4 nations in the world, they are non-parties. And you are surprising to see that the USA, the most developed country of the world, is not part of CBD. And it lies in Iraq, Somalia, and Andorra. Okay. Then we have Ramsar Convention. Ramsar Convention is for the protection of wetlands. Wetlands, they are also very important because they are house of migratory birds, rich flora and fauna is there. Okay, so we should protect them. We have many wetlands, like we have in Chandigarh, Sukna wetland, in Harike wetland, in Kanjli wetland. So many wetlands are there in Punjab and Haryana. Of course, you might have in Jharkhand also. Then the Kratagana Protocol. This protocol was signed because when we are working on genetically modified crops, so suppose I produce a genetically modified, like cotton is there. So I want to send cotton to some other country. So this Kratagana Protocol, it tells me to keep in mind the biosafety issues. So I have to inform the other country first, what I am sending, what will be the consequences if it will be released into the environment, how it will destroy the ecosystem of that area, so that they may prepare well in advance before even receiving the GM crop. Then we have Nagoya Protocol. This again is a part of CBD. Kratagana Protocol is also part of CBD. So it deals with the genetic resources and benefit sharing. Now what happens earlier, the developed countries, they go to developing countries, okay, and they start using the resources of these countries. For example, what China is doing now, they are giving loans to many countries and taking the resources of these African countries, even Sri Lanka also, and they cannot say anything to China or to any other country like USA, their European Union. Yes. So, but in the protocol, you have to share the benefits. So, in the CBT, there is a recommendation that we should decrease our activities or minimize our activities in the areas that are very rich in biodiversity, like this core area. Then we have a buffer zone. There will be no human activities or minimal human activities in the core area. Minimum, they are not in the buffer zone. Humans, they are allowed only for recreation activities, and we have transition time area where they can be, but they cannot use the resources from this area. Okay. So we have to monitor it, study it, and try to maintain this biosphere reserves. So if you come to India, again, India is one of the countries that has all type of vegetation, tropical, temperate, deserts, alpine. So we have everything here, and different kind of species are there. So India took initiative. They are member of CBD.
I think work is dropped. Seems due to your hello. It seems due to poor network, he has left the meeting. We'll wait for some time to join him back. Hello everyone. Due to poor network of Dr. Kashmir Singh sir, he has left the meeting. We will wait for some time for him to rejoin the meeting. Please have patience. He's trying to join the meeting. Thank you.
Go. Work.
संजय कहाँ पे हैं? Continue with the program.
Sir, I called him and I asked him to reconnect.
हाँ,
So he's trying. Otherwise, we can continue with some our next presentation. Puspa, Puspa,
Yes, sir.
do
Yes, sir.
you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Perhaps he is trying to reconnect. In between, why don't you ask Sahai sir to come for some talk?
Our
He's
yes,
there in the list and he's waiting.
okay.
We have
Okay.
given him.
So,
Yeah, we have given him a slot of 5 minutes time.
yes, sir.
Ah.
Due to some network glitches, Dr. Kashmir Singh sir has left the meeting. I now request, we are happy to have between us Shri A.K. Sahai sir, founder and convener of Indian Birds Photography Society, IBPS, Dhanbad. I now request Sahai sir to give his remarks on the topic today. Over to A.K. Sahai sir.
Namaskar. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're audible, sir. You're audible.
संजय जी आपने कहा 5 मिनट 6 मिनट थे, 5 6 मिनट.
Okay, sir. Allowed, sir.
Yes, thank you. एक्चुअली क्या हुआ, सिंह साहब बहुत अच्छा बताएं. उन्होंने कहा कि बायोडायवर्सिटी के बारे में सब बात करा. मैं सिर्फ इतना बोलूंगा कि विश्व में जितने तरह के फॉरेस्ट हो सकते हैं हमारे देश में, विश्व में जितने तरह के फॉरेस्ट हैं सब हमारे देश में, इसीलिए हम लोग बायोडायवर्सिटी में आगे हैं. मैं आपको एग्जाम्पल दूँ. हमारा ट्रॉपिकल वेट एवरग्रीन है, ट्रॉपिकल सेमी एवरग्रीन फॉरेस्ट है, ट्रॉपिकल मॉइस्ट डेसिडुअस, ट्रॉपिकल ड्राई डेसिडुअस, ट्रॉपिकल फॉर्म, ट्रॉपिकल ड्राई एवरग्रीन, सब ट्रॉपिकल वेट, लिफ्ट सब, इस तरह से 16 फॉरेस्ट सब हमारे पास. मैं जानने को उत्सुक था.
Yes, sir, I have joined.
Who sir can do that?
Dr. Kashmir Singh sir has joined.
Let him continue.
Yes, sir. You can.
Yes,
Sahai sir, you will.
So, you are able to see my slide, sir?
Kashmir Singh
Are you
sir.
able to- Yeah,
Actually,
you are able to see my
since you left the meeting, we have invited Akhilesh Kumar Sahai sir for this his remark. So can we have this session like that? If Akhilesh sir will finish his session, we can continue with your presentations, Kashmir sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू. तो मैं बता रहा था कि विश्व में जितने तरह के फॉरेस्ट हैं सब हमारे देश में. बायोडायवर्सिटी में बहुत आगे हमारा देश. चाइना हमारे देश से 3 गुना साइज का है. चाइना इज वेरी बिग कंट्री. और इसके बाद जो हमने स्टडी किया आयुष सिंह, जिसके बारे में सिंह साहब ने बताया, तो वहाँ से आयुष सिंह ने बताया कि मैमल्स इंडिया में 500 तरह के हैं, चाइना में 540, बर्ड्स 1200 है, कम से कम 12 से 15 चाइना में, रेप्टाइल्स 530 है, तो चाइना में 176 है, कम है. बटरफ्लाइज 1500 है, तो 138 चाइना में. इंफॉर्मेशन में जुगाड़ गया आयुष सिंह से और BNS से, बॉम्बे नेचुरल सोसाइटी को लाइक में. एक बात मैं और बताना चाहता हूँ. The word called endemism, मतलब कि कुछ चिड़िया ऐसे हैं जो कि सर्टेन जगह में रहते हैं and you can't see beyond that area. मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूँ. वेस्टर्न घाट जो है से बहुत अच्छा जगह, बहुत खूबसूरत जगह है इंडिया में. वहाँ पे नीलगिरी पिपीट, मालाबार ग्रे हॉर्नबिल, ग्रे हेडेड बुलबुल, ब्लू विंग पैराकिट, नीलगिरी फ्लाईकैचर, नीलगिरी वुड पिजन, व्हाइट बेलेट ट्रिपाई, नीलगिरी लाफिंग थ्रस्ट, white bellied blue flycatcher, black and orange flycatcher, white bellied blue ribbon, Parani, laughing thrust, purple babbler, Sri-Lanka bird. इतने तरह के पक्षी जो है सो वेस्टर्न घाट में मिलते हैं. And you can't see these birds beyond that area. सब माइग्रेशन के बारे में थोड़ा बोलता हूँ. क्या होता है कि लोग यहाँ इंडिया में फैशन है, जो भी बर्ड्स इंडिया में आता है सब साइबेरिया से. हकीकत ये नहीं, हकीकत ये है कि जहाँ बहुत एक्सट्रीमली कोल्ड क्लाइमेट होता है वहाँ से भी आता है. इंग्लैंड में तो ठंड winter time about 50 species of birds they take off from there तो वहाँ migrate. और इंग्लैंड से साइबेरिया को रिलेशन इसलिए है, इंग्लैंड से लंदन से साइबेरिया का लास्ट पॉइंट है about 3,470 किलोमीटर. ये कहना गलत है कि जितने बर्ड्स इंडिया में आते हैं वो सब साइबेरिया से आते हैं. इसका साइबेरिया का वर्ड इसलिए ज्यादा यूज हुआ इसलिए कि हमारे क्लब में 1996 के आसपास में एक साइबेरियन फ्रेंड को पकड़ा खड़गपुर में, वो टैग 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 लगा दिया और उसके बाद उसको छोड़ दिया. तो 1 महीने के बाद वो बर्ड जो है सो रसिया में पकड़ा गया. साइंटिस्ट ने वहाँ से इन्फॉर्म किया, उसको लोगों ने कहा कि ये बर्ड साइबेरिया का है और हिंदुस्तान गया हुआ था, अभी आ गया. इसी से उसके बाद कोई स्टडी बिजनेस ने किया ही नहीं. अभी क्या है, जितने बर्ड्स आते हैं सब साइबेरिया. हमारे 3 माइग्रेटरी रूट्स हैं, एक गुजरात के ऊपर से, एक सेंट्रल इंडिया के माउंट एवरेस्ट के ऊपर से और नॉर्थ. और इसके अलावा एक बात और है कि जितने बर्ड्स आते हैं तो डक्स नहीं आते, डक्स के अलावा बहुत सारे बर्ड्स हैं. तो लैपिंग का एक वेराइटी ग्रे हेडेड लैपिंग है, वो जो है सो नॉर्थ ईस्ट में उतरता है ओवर आसाम. बहुत 6 मिनट टाइम मेरे को मिला था, 6 मिनट के अंदर काम खत्म कर दिया. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
थैंक यू सो मच सर. अब मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कश्मीर सिंह सर से कि वो अपनी प्रेजेंटेशन को फिर से कंटिन्यू करेंगे.
So, are you able to see my screen, please?
Yes sir.
Okay. So, I guess I left on this slide.
Yes sir. Yes sir.
So we have many threatened plants in India as per our said IUCN or Red Data book. So we have conservation strategies in the form of national parks and sanctuaries, and the efforts we are putting should be increased in mapping of forest types, vector areas, and protection efforts, habitat maintenance, GIS surveys, new conservation areas, community reserves, and joint forest management. It should not be left only to the government. It should be voluntarily field-based organizations and NGOs. Like our national parks and sanctuaries, they are habitat of many unique species present in India, like rhino, tiger, and we have many examples of community conservation where, for example, here in Karnataka, you can see where people, they are protecting pelicans from very long time. So they allow storks and pelicans to come into the water bodies of their village, and people, they don't do any harm to them, and even they live in very much harmony with each other, like you can see from these pictures. Like Pasganova Pond in Pilibhit district of Uttar Pradesh, where again people, they have traditionally protected the waterfowl. They have enforced ban on hunting and poaching of the bird. Okay, so this provides an example of traditional respect of wildlife. Then we have joint forest management in Kovra village, where people, they have grown the trees. So they have made man-made forests. You can see the height of these trees. So they are doing from very long time. Similarly, Dudhwa National Park and Okay, okay. Okay, I am summing up. Now you can see help me.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So we have Project Tiger, Rhino reinforcement, forest management, then waterfowl, and the community in the Kerala. So everything is there in India. So there are individual or joint efforts have been carried out in India where we are working to conserve the biodiversity. But still, there are many bottlenecks because of lack and insufficient funding, not enough taxonomists or field botanists. Taxonomy is too difficult to learn and to practice because it needs years to gather the literature and specimens. And critical resources are scattered and available to only few workers. There are few centralized sources of information, lack of sharing information, not enough trained HR, then not enough use of modern knowledge because we are still using the old technique of photographing and footprint counting. So the common lessons that we learned is that strategic forest management should be there. The forest rules should not be so harsh that the local communities they should not be barred from entering into forest. They should be kept into mind while making any decisions. Then, but bettering access of to it to national forest areas, reserves, because they depend on them, monitoring food livelihood security, then building social capital and respecting indigenous knowledge. So in the end, as our lifestyle is now getting techno savvy, we are not, we are moving away from nature, but we should remember that we cannot escape from nature because we are part of nature. Thank you very much, sir. This is all what I have to say. And I am extremely sorry that there are so many interruptions during this presentation. I hope something I am able to pass on to the students, and special thanks to the students and the faculty members and other members of the management uh, because it is Sunday and still we joined in big numbers for this talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for explaining it so well, especially the three aspects of biodiversity. That is species diversity, genetic diversity, and ecosystem, that is habitat diversity. A synergetic understanding alone will make us realize about the economic value of biodiversity resources. With this, we move to our next session, is interactive session. We have students from the Nature Club of Guru Nanak College here. Students, if you have some query, you can ask for information to Dr. Kashmir Singh sir. Do we have some query from the students? Okay,
Pushpa, better we move to
okay.
Move ahead, Pushpa. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So now we move to our next talk. I now request Sardar R.S. Chahal, President, Governing Council, Guru Nanak College, Dhanbad, to enlighten us with his address. Over to Chahal, sir.
Thank you, Pushpa. Thank you, Professor Kashmir Singh ji. It was a wonderful. Really, we didn't know so many details about the biodiversity. Thanks a lot to you. And Mr. A.K. Sai, thank you very much, sir, for being with us. And we wish that this association continues as it is, and we can expand this nature club for the benefit of the society. While seeing all those things, I will quickly wrap up. I'll not take much time. My concern really, this climate change will have its consequences, uh, and human race will struggle to cope up with them. We will run, say, out of fossil fuels and forced to augment a renewable source of clean energy to sustain life on the planet. There is absolutely no doubt on that. The damage because of the imbalancing of the ecosystem has made Earth lose flora and fauna that sustained actually the varied species, in fact, extinction of some, depletion of ozone layer, soil erosion, fire and rainforests, lowering down levels, water levels, dying rivers are threatening to life. That's a really concern for all of us because this beautiful nature is no more beautiful now. See, you find skyscrapers, they have taken the place of the green areas and widening of the roads. Of course, for the sake of convenience, it's okay to drive on 6 lanes, 4 lanes. But according to an estimate, what I have learned, it's nearly 100 million trees have been cut down. I think during Corona period, because there was a flight disruptions, I had to travel from Dhanbad to Delhi. I could not find a single tree on the national highway. So that's the real concern. Cutting so many millions of trees, it's like the paradise is lost. It's John Milton paradise that is lost now. And what we have to do to regain that paradise. So I think Guru Nanak has given us the solution. He has equated air as Guru, with Guru, water, Father, and earth, the Mother, in whose lap day and night the whole human kind plays. Let us keep enjoying that warmth in the lap of the beautiful nature. And for us, I will suggest the task ahead for the Guru Nanak College. Since Sanjay, I think if I am not wrong, we comprise around 6,000, okay, including the management, staff, children, students, around 6,000. Why not?
Exactly.
Why not to set a target of planting 6,000 trees during the year? Okay, we have to contribute to reduce this, say, these green gases and so can we do that?
Sir, we can do this, sir, but the problem is the land. Where is the land? We need land to plant it for plantation, sir.
We will talk to the
Because,
district.
sir, you know, when at the time of formation of Nature Club, we put this question to the ACF, Assistant Conservator of Forest, Manjul sir, and you requested, even we requested, कि भाई you provide us a area we can beautify with greenery.
See that can be talked about with the
Yes,
forest,
sir.
but even we
Definitely.
can some of the portion on the national highways. If government is not doing, let's do it. So that would be our contribution also. We have heard so many, it's a really scary to listen all those things, and it's going to happen. Where we will go, we don't understand. See, over and above, you see this automation, robots, machine learning, AI. When these things come, really, and you believe me, it's not far off. And at that time, the role of the human being will be redefined. We will become the slaves of the machine learning, of the technology. We will not use technology to increase the share of the, say, say how to develop the nature, how to keep sustain all those things. But in fact, our role should be how to increase that our contribution in these areas. See, things are going to be still stiff. It will not be easy going for us. So let us contribute, every one of us. Okay, we'll find us. We'll talk to the DFO. We'll talk,
Definitely,
give
sir.
some
Yeah.
areas. Okay, it's not
Definitely.
around Punai. There are many villages also. We can go to the village to plant those. Increase the green area should be our sequence, sir. After listening so much from Dr. Kashmir Sai, Dr. Mr. A.K. Sai, I think we should give it back to the society what we have gained from them. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you, and especially Professor Kashmir Sai. I'll meet you, sir. Sometime I'm in Chandigarh only today. I'll meet you when you come back from your village. Thanks to all of you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. You have always blessed the occasion with your wonderful talk. I now request Dr. Meena Malkhandi, HOD Political Science, to deliver the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you,
Over
Pushpa
to
ma'am.
Meena, ma'am.
Thank you, Pushpa ma'am. May I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. You are on.
Okay, thank you. आज के शुभ अवसर पर एक बार सभी को मेरी शुभकामनाएं और वोट ऑफ थैंक्स किसी भी कार्यक्रम की अंतिम कड़ी है। इस अंतिम कड़ी में प्रवेश करने से पहले मैं प्रिंसिपल सर को धन्यवाद कहूंगी कि उन्होंने मुझे ये मौका दिया। इस कड़ी में प्रवेश करने से पहले कुछ समय आपका लेना चाहूंगी। आप सबों का टाइम काफी हो गया है, फिर भी मैं अपनी कुछ पंक्तियां आपके सामने रखना चाहूंगी। मेरा टॉपिक है प्रकृति और पर्यावरण। कितनी मनोरम है ये धरती, प्रकृति और ये पर्यावरण। कल कल बहते पानी के झरने, हरी भरी सी धरती और इसके इंद्रधनुषीय नजारे, कल कल करते नभ में पक्षी जीवन के राग सुनाते हैं। मस्त पवन के झोंके में यूं ही बहते जाते हैं। बारिश की बूंदें भी देखो सबके मन को भाती हैं, हरा भरा मन को करती हैं और सबको जीवन दे जाती हैं। कितनी मनोरम है ये धरती, प्रकृति और ये पर्यावरण। हमको जीवन देने वाली प्रकृति का मिलकर करना है हम सबको संरक्षण। सबसे पहले मैं डॉक्टर कश्मीर सिंह, प्रोफेसर एंड चेयरपर्सन डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ बायोटेक्नोलॉजी एंड कोऑर्डिनेटर DST सेंटर फॉर पॉलिसी रिसर्च, पंजाब यूनिवर्सिटी चंडीगढ़, सर विशेष रूप से आपके प्रति आभार व्यक्त करती हूँ। और आज के दिन को आपने एक स्पेशल बना दिया है। जब प्रिंसिपल सर ने आपकी प्रोफाइल हम लोगों को शेयर किया, कुछ पल के लिए मेरा हार्ट बीट बहुत बढ़ गया था। मुझे लगा कई व्यक्तियों का इसमें अचीवमेंट है। बाद में मैंने पाया कि सर इतने कम समय में आपने ये अचीव कर लिए हैं। सर धन्यवाद का कोई शब्द आपके लिए कम पड़ेगा। जब मैं आपको सुन रही थी तो नेचर्स क्लब के कुछ स्टूडेंट्स का ये बार बार सजेशन मेरे पास आ रहा था कि फेस टू फेस मैडम हम लोग को सुनना है और इनके अनुभव का फायदा हमें उठाना है। तो मैं प्रिंसिपल और कॉलेज मैनेजमेंट से रिक्वेस्ट करती हूँ कि अगर सर को धनबाद बुलाने की आप लोग किसी तरह से इंतजाम कर सकते हैं तो नेचर्स क्लब के स्टूडेंट के लिए भी फायदेमंद होगा और हम सबों के लिए भी होगा। तो सर ये मेरा स्पेशल रिक्वेस्ट है आप सबों से, चहल सर से प्रिंसिपल संजय सर से।
Meena, in fact, yesterday evening I spoke to Dr. Saab,
Yes.
and I will talk to him again. We will get a date from him and have a offline meeting because many of the students are really interested to have a interaction with.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू सो मच सर, थैंक यू सर। इतने बड़े शख्सियत से मुलाकात होना और वो भी आज के दिन मैं अपने आप को भाग्यशाली समझ रही हूँ। सर, जल्द से जल्द आप धनबाद आए और आपके अनुभव का उपयोग हम लोग कर सके, ये आप जरूर सर हम लोगों के लिए कृपा करें। हमारा सबसे बड़ा जो चीज है वो स्टूडेंट्स का एक्टिविटी। हम लोग एनएसएस और अभी अभी हम लोगों ने नेचर क्लब के साथ जुड़ा है और हमारे संजय सर के नेतृत्व में हम लोग लगातार इस काम में लगे हुए हैं। जुलाई में हम लोगों का वन महोत्सव का भी आयोजन होगा। अगर उस समय सर आप आ जाते या आप आते, आपके समय होता, तो हम लोगों के लिए वो डे, क्योंकि वो एक सप्ताह का सेलिब्रेशन होता है, तो उस जुलाई के फर्स्ट वीक में अगर आपके लिए पॉसिबल होगा, सर प्रिंसिपल सर से भी मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी, तो वो एक डे फिर स्पेशल बन जाएगा हम लोगों के लिए।
Now, definitely, we will request him to come down to Dhanbad in the first or the second week as per his convenience.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. धन्यवाद ज्ञापन के अगली कड़ी में सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट धन्यवाद, या हम कहेंगे कि नतमस्तक होके मैं कहूंगी, कॉलेज शासी निकाय के अध्यक्ष सरदार आर.एस. चहल सर को। सर, आप हर समय एक स्पेशल आइडिया शेयर करते हैं और हर डे को सर आप अपने आइडिया से स्पेशल बना देते हैं। सर, आप में जो गुण है, शायद मैं बार बार ये बोलती हूँ तो आपको भी लगता होगा मीना बार बार क्या बोलती हैं, लेकिन सर जितना आपको जानने की मौका मिल रहा है, सर सही मायने में हम इतना फैन हो चुके हैं, हमको लगता है कि जिंदगी में अगर गॉड के बाद कोई उस तरह का शख्सियत है तो सर आप मेरे लाइफ में आप हैं, क्योंकि आप बहुत ज्यादा, मतलब आप में डाइवर्सिटी बहुत ज्यादा। समझ ही नहीं पाती हूँ कि सर आप किस एरिया में फोकस करना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि जिस एरिया में फोकस करते दूसरे ही दिन देखते हैं एरिया डाइवर्ट हो गया, अलग हो गया, और उसमें भी सर इतने पारदर्शी आप हैं, हमको लगता है छोटी में बड़ी बात करना है। हमारी शासी निकाय के सचिव सरदार दिलजोन सिंह ग्रेवाल सर की मैं विशेष रूप से धन्यवाद करूंगी। सर, आपकी भूमिका हमेशा ही हम लोगों के लिए प्रेरणा स्रोत रहा है। आप हमेशा हम लोगों के लिए मार्गदर्शक बने हुए हैं। हमारे कॉलेज के पूर्व प्रिंसिपल शेखर सर की उपस्थिति हम सबों के लिए बहुत मायने रखता है, और हमारे बीच उपस्थित अखिलेश सहाय सर को भी मैं धन्यवाद कहूंगी। इतने व्यस्त समय में से सर आप उपस्थित हुए और आपके अनुभव का फायदा हमारे स्टूडेंट्स को मिल रहा है। सर, आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। इन सभी बातों के पीछे, इस सभी कार्यक्रम के पीछे हमारे प्रिंसिपल सर डॉक्टर संजय प्रसाद सर का सक्रिय भूमिका है। सर के मार्गदर्शन में ही हम लोग लगातार एक के बाद एक कार्यक्रम कर रहे हैं। सर, आपके लिए धन्यवाद का 4 वर्ड कहना मेरे लिए बहुत दिक्कत वाली बात है, इसलिए सर धन्यवाद नहीं कहूंगी, यही कहूंगी कि आगे आदेश दीजिए क्या क्या कार्यक्रम आपके नेतृत्व में हम लोगों को और करना है, और हम लोग सभी मिलके उस कार्यक्रम को सफलता पूर्वक करेंगे। ये विश्वास इस मंच से आपको सर हम जरूर दिलाते हैं। हमारे महिला शाखा के प्रोफेसर इंचार्ज डॉक्टर रंजना दास मैम को भी मैं धन्यवाद कहूंगी, और साथ ही हमारे कॉलेज के मेरे सभी शिक्षक मित्रों को भी धन्यवाद कहूंगी कि आपने अपने व्यस्ततम समय में से समय निकालकर हम सबों के साथ जुड़ा। हमारे तकनीकी एक्सपर्ट साधन मिश्रा जी को धन्यवाद कहूंगी, इनके बिना कार्यक्रम का आयोजन संभव नहीं है। और सबसे बड़ा धन्यवाद का पात्र है नेचर्स क्लब के सारे स्टूडेंट्स मेंबर एंड एनएसएस वॉलंटियर्स। आपके बिना कार्यक्रम को करना असंभव है। अंत में मैं इतना ही कहूंगी, खतरे में है वन्य जीव सब, मिलकर इन्हें बचाना है, पेड़ ना काटे बल्कि पेड़ लगाना है। चहल सर, विश्वास दिलाती हूँ आपका जो प्रपोजल है, हम लोग धनबाद घूम घूम के देखेंगे कहाँ पर हम लोग पेड़ लगा सकते हैं, और जहाँ पेड़ काट रहा है वहां भी बच्चे जाके विरोध प्रदर्शन करेंगे, ताकि लोगों को भी ये समझ में आए पेड़ काटना यानी हम अपने जीवन के लिए कितना खतरा पैदा कर रहे हैं। थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू। ओवर टू पुष्पा मैम।
थैंक यू मीना मैम। With this, we come to the end of this wonderful session, wonderful talk, very informative one. We will end the meeting now, and with the blessings of Vaheguruji, we will have some similar informative and very wonderful talks in the future also. Thank you, everyone. You can leave the meeting now.
Okay, thank you everyone, especially our keynote speaker, Dr. Professor Kashmir Singh sir, and the members of management as well as the faculty members. Thank you so much.
So Sanjay,
Yes, sir.
they should become Guru Nanak College, rallying cry to heal the planet. Okay.
Okay, sir.
That is our slogan for today.
That should be the slogan. Okay, sir.
Yeah. How we can
Yeah.
heal that. Okay.
वैसे सर एक छोटी जानकारी दे दूं. Yesterday our students, एक जो फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट है, उसने हमारे स्टूडेंट्स के साथ कुछ एक्सकर्शन ट्रिप पर बच्चे हमारे गए थे.
गुड.
और उसमें उन लोगों ने उस जगह पर भी प्लांटेशन देखा जो सर मतलब कि कोलरी एरिया का ओवरबर्डन वाला एरिया है, फुल ऑफ रॉक्स एंड मतलब बैरन लैंड. तो द असिस्टेंट कंजर्वेटर ऑफ फॉरेस्ट एंड द फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट पीपल, दे मतलब कि शोड दिस टू द स्टूडेंट्स कि देखिए यहाँ भी प्लांटेशन हो सकता है. तो अगर ऐसे जगहों पर भी अगर प्लांटेशन की बात आएगी तो वी कैन कम विद द प्रपोजल, और हमको लगता है सर कि इसमें फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट भी हमें हेल्प करेगा.
Sure. We'll talk.
Definitely. Yeah, we will talk, sir. We will definitely talk, sir. Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.